What's up guys, it's me again, Jada Christine, and I'm back with another video. Today we are talking about depending on God, the intimacy of God, and difficult waiting seasons. This season, more than any other time in my life, has shown me that I can't depend on anything or anyone but God, and that depending on him is really hard sometimes because we often can't see what he's doing, so we struggle with like having faith and trusting him that he's taking care of things. But God has been trying to get me to understand something, and he shows me in the funniest way. He's showing me that as I'm waiting on him, that I have to trust him in the details. And I thought I was trusting him fully in the details, but I wasn't. I kept trying to orchestrate and understand his timing and his plan, but it wasn't for me to understand. Isaiah 55:8-9 says that his ways are higher than our ways. And I kept driving myself crazy, and I do still keep driving myself crazy sometimes, trying to understand what he's doing, truly trying to understand something that my mind can't even fathom, because we're not created to understand things in the same way God understands them. When God shows us something or promises something that looks completely unobtainable, it's so that he can get the glory, because only he can do it. Only he can work out the details and the complexity of it, which is why it seems unobtainable. Now in Nehemiah, when he was trying to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, so much opposition and doubt came up against him. It looked impossible to many others but God. They doubted him in Nehemiah 4:1-2. I don't know how to say the name. We're just gonna say S. S was very angry when he learned that we were rebuilding the wall. He flew into a rage and mocked the Jews, saying in front of his friends and the Samaritan army officers, "What does this bunch of poor feeble Jews think that they're doing? Do they think they can rebuild the wall in a single day by just offering a few sacrifices? Do they actually think they can make something of stones from a rubbish heap, and charred ones at that?" Now, this is kind of how we look at our situations sometimes. We look at our situations and we see stones from a rubbish heap. We see charred stones from a rubbish heap, and we don't see how we can rebuild that. Sometimes we let other people look at our situations and they see a mess, they see something that can't be cleaned, something that can't be rebuilt. But God, that's how God gets the glory. Now when God takes you from a place that looked like you couldn't get out of it, only God could have done that. And people see that, and they look at your life, it's a living testimony. They see what he's brought you through, and they understand that only he could have done that. And in Nehemiah 6:15-16, when the wall was completed, it says, "On October 2nd, the wall was finished, just 52 days after we had begun. When our enemies and the surrounding nations heard about it, they were frightened and humiliated. They realized this work had been done with the help of our God. See, in this, God gets the glory." Now, the people who doubted, the people that were like, "This can't work, it's not gonna work," they looked at it when it was done, and they saw that it was God. It literally says, they realized that the work had been done by God. They were frightened and they were humiliated. They were humiliated because they doubted. They were frightened because they didn't think it was possible, and they were trying to figure out how great God is, because God just transformed it, you know? He gets the glory when it looks impossible. Now, God has shown me some things that look impossible, and my posture while I'm waiting on him in orchestrating that is not the best. It hasn't been the best, but I'm working on it. All he wants me to do is to be still and know that he is God. But my worry, my fear, and my confusion wants to know all the details. I'm fighting myself right now to just let go and let God, and I've been working on that for about a week now. He's shown me that he hasn't made me start this YouTube channel for no reason. He hasn't led me to start this to leave me here. He's obviously going to take this channel somewhere, and I believe that he will, whether other people do or not. I believe that he will be able to influence people through me and through this channel, because it's his channel and I'm his servant. I believe that somehow he will bless me with a way to live, with a home to live in away from my hometown, so I can live in my college town where I want to live permanently, because this is where my church is, and this is where I feel like he wants me to build a life at. I believe that he will supply that need, because if he wants me here, he will make it happen. And I believe that he has a man out there, even though this generation is kind of crazy and toxic, that there is a man of God out there that's young, my age, living for him, and that will walk on this journey with me. And I just have to have faith that he's gonna do that, no matter how many disappointing situations I see, no matter how many disappointing men I see, no matter how many times I see how high the rent is, no matter how much I look at my bank account, no matter how many times I look at my subscriber count. I know that he can take where I'm at now and elevate it, and I know that he will do it all. if it's in his will. He has plans to prosper all of us. Now, when I look at where I'm at now, single, in college, in this hookup culture, living in my dorm on campus, which isn't bad, by the way, with about 250 subscribers, I often can't see how it will come together. But just last month I had 50 subscribers, and he's already elevated his channel so much, so I know that if he can take me from 50 to 250, he can take me from 250 to 250,000. You see what I'm talking about? And not me, but this channel. I often can't see how it'll come together. I worry, I cry, I bawl my eyes out in confusion, feeling like I'm walking with a blindfold on, because the process is really, really hard. But I'm sharing this in faith that he will deliver what he's shown me, and that it will be a testimony for people who feel like God has shown them something greater than where they're at right now, and they don't see how it's obtainable. Now, at my church, my pastor recently shared where she believes God is taking the church. And the church, if you live in San Jose, is a Rohi Christian church. She shared that she was scared to share it with us. She just wanted to keep it between her and God, which is very much understandable. You know, we don't share our dreams and our hopes because we don't think that people will have the faith, and most of the time they don't see, like it said in Nehemiah, everybody saw the situation, the wall, and it was like, it looked impossible to rebuild. People will look at your situation and you tell them something, they're not going to understand it, and it's hard sometimes. She stepped out on faith, and she shared where she believes God is taking the church. But her faith encouraged me to step out and share, because I know that God will make it happen. And I know that I didn't share much because I don't know much about what God's going to do, but I do know that I'm excited, and I'm already grateful for where I'm at right now, because looking at where I was a year ago to where I am now is a testimony in itself to where I could be a year from today. If God has shown you something, and if you're believing in God to show up in a miraculous way, and you can't see how you're going to get there, and you feel like you're walking around with the blindfold on, think of it like this. When you go to get your hair done, or when you go to get your nails done, or you go to get anything done, you trust that the stylist or the nail tech is going to do what you ask them to do. And it's going to take hours and hours and hours, but you trust that it will be done how you want it and how you need it to be, don't you? We even get uncomfortable sitting in those chairs for hours, getting our hair braided, or I don't know if you get braids, or sitting down in the nail salon getting your nails done for hours. You get uncomfortable, you get antsy, you get, oh, I'm ready to go. And we do that with God too. As we wait on him, we're like, God, I'm uncomfortable, God, I don't like waiting. He just wants us to be still and know that he's gonna do a good job. And sometimes it takes years, but he comes right on time. And as soon as you feel like he's nowhere to be found, like everything is becoming unbearable, he's gonna come through right on time. When the pandemic happened, I was a senior in high school, and I couldn't wait to get to college and start my college career. And my parents told me that I couldn't go. I was bawling my eyes out, and my dad came and he was like, we're gonna send you to college. He came right on time. When I found out that I got hired for my first job on campus, I was on a family vacation with my siblings arguing. My siblings arguing in the next room, going at it like never before, and good news came in the midst of the trouble. So I'm asking myself, why can't I trust him now? We have to trust him, we have to depend on him to get through each day. And when I say each day, I mean each day. Because when it feels like you're walking with the blindfold on, it's hard to get up in the morning. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to go to sleep because you know you have to wake up again and do another day. And I'm just being real, I'm just being honest. You know, we have these cycles in life. We get up, we work. It's kind of exhausting. It really is exhausting. And when you're waiting on God to show up in a miraculous way to change your situation in the slightest bit, you can get tired and exhausted going through the same cycles and feel like you're on repeat. You know, he's really showing me right now that the only way that I'm going to get through every single day, the only way that I'm going to get through the week, the year, through any waiting season, is by depending on him and being content in him. When you're content in him, when you're depending on him, you won't be depending on the outcome of your circumstance. You won't be idolizing the outcome of a circumstance. He wants you to want him in the same way you want him to show up for you. You know, he's trying to show you that he loves you, that he's there for you, and that he's everything you need, because he really is. If you know me, I'm a simp. I've always been hopeless romantic. Like, I'm always like, I want a boyfriend, I want this and that. I've been single my whole life, and God has shown me I've been idolizing relationships, but he's being the man I desire by loving me, wanting to hear me speak, being there for me, providing for me, and protecting me, which is what I need, which is what I want. And so as I realize that, I'm realizing he's teaching me what real love is, and that only he will satisfy those needs, even if he did bring me a man. He's made it to where my only desire is to depend on him, because everyone else and everything else is unreliable. And it's true, we're human, we're not perfect. We can't expect people to always be there for us. But he's showing me that only he's gonna show up for me every single time, every single day, every single morning, and every single night. I'm starting to truly understand what people say when they say that God is their everything. He's my best friend, my comforter, my rock, and my teacher. I don't feel the intimacy that I have with God with anyone else. And what breaks my heart most is that he's not an earthly being, he's a spiritual being, he's a heavenly being. He's spiritually omnipresent, and we're separated from him on this earth until he returns. I can't just call him on the phone and ask to go over to his house to chill, you know. I have to be so spiritually intimate with God by praying, by worshiping, by reading, by talking to him and serving him, just so that I can feel his presence, just so that I can keep my relationship with him, so that I can get through life. Because without those things, I'm basically telling him with my actions that I'm gonna get through life and that I can do everything on my own. Without doing those things, I have no peace or will to do anything, because without those things, there is no relationship with him. Without prayer, without worship, without reading the word, without talking to him, there is no relationship with him. You know, if you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend in general, you stopped talking to them, you stopped texting them, you would follow them on social media, you didn't speak to them in public, there is no relationship. You no longer can depend on that person. So when we do those things to God, when we stop praying, when we stop worshiping, when we stop going to church, when we stop getting his word and just simply talking to him, there's no relationship. You're not depending on him in the same way, in the way that he wants you to. Now, you can't go complaining saying, where's God, where's God? He wants you to come to him. He wants to get to know you. What I tell you, whenever I go a day without like sitting down and just having a conversation with God, like I'm talking on the phone with my best friend, I get this feeling in my chest and it feels like conviction, and I start panicking. I'm like, God, what did I do? Did I forget to do this? Did I forget to do this? And that's mostly because I'm an anxious person, so it kind of conflicts. But I have this conviction in my heart. It's like, oh, I feel like I did something wrong, and it's literally just like, no, he just wants to talk to you, Jada. And I'm like, oh. So then I start talking to God like I'm just talking to a friend. I'm like, oh God, today was a good day, you know, I'm grateful for this and this and this. This is stressing me out. This person made me mad. He literally just wants to hear your voice. And I had to understand that God is loving God. He's not trying to make me feel scared or anxious like I did something wrong. He just wanted to hear me speak. And that was the most thing that just made me fall in love with him even more, because sometimes we just want someone to listen to us. And I always complain like, God, I don't have anyone to just listen to me. He's right there. The things I desire, I can't have without him. The lifestyle I desire to live, I can't have without him. The people I want to reach, the place I hope to live in, none of that can happen without him. Everything feels impossible without him. From simply getting up to start the day to getting sleep through the night. Sometimes I look at my vision board for years in advance, or even my to-do list for the day, and I look at it and I feel completely overwhelmed. And I'm just like, God, I don't know how I can do this. I don't want to do this. I have no motivation, but he just keeps pressing it on my spirit to depend on him. He's making it to where I can only depend on him to get to those things. For me, honestly, he's taking me through this season right now, because in my head, I think I'll have the motivation and the support when I meet my future husband. I always pray that he sends me a man that can support me and push me through the day, or comfort me and protect me. And God is telling me that that's his job. And even when that man does come, he's not gonna do it the same way God does it. And God's always gonna be there for me, because we can't rely on people. You know, maybe if he had brought that person into my life by now, I would have depended on him more than I depended on God. So God is just trying to show me that I can do it all if I have him by my side. I feel so withdrawn from the world because it doesn't satisfy me in the same way that God does. And since I don't understand what God is doing sometimes, and I don't like waiting, I feel weak and I want to go back to old ways and old habits. Living in ignorance, because ignorance is bliss. I get so frustrated sometimes thinking about how lonely I feel physically because I felt the intimacy of God, and no one else gives that to me. So me being a person who values friendships and relationships so much, it's starting to feel out of touch with the people in this world, because it all feels so surface level. No one understands me or gets me in the same way that God does, and I always go searching for that in people and I never find it. Sometimes those connections we desire to have can only come from people who know God just as well as you do, who know that kind of intimacy, who like to dig deeper than the surface. I feel closer to my friends who are believers I always feel more comfortable with my family because they are believers. They have God's spirit in them and they love in the same way that God does. So my spirit is drawn to that. Sometimes God has to show us how bad something can get before he brings us the good thing. I keep telling myself that God is having me wait on a relationship because I wouldn't appreciate or value the love that I desire if I didn't know how cold the world was, and if I didn't know how cold some men and some people are. I wouldn't even be able to recognize true love and true intimacy if God hasn't shown it to me through the relationship I have with him. Depend on him. Don't put your help in anything else but him. The grass isn't greener on the other side, it's green where God is. Do it his way. Get comfortable with putting all your weight and all your trust in God, because that's the only way you're gonna make it through. He will provide all your physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental needs in physical ways like money or provision, or in spiritual ways like comfort and peace. When I start talking about him, I feel like I'm talking about him in the same way girls talk about their boyfriends. I'm like, oh, he puts a smile on my face on my worst days. He makes me laugh. He comforts me. He protects me. He's always there for me. He urges me to talk to him. He just wants to be there for me. He's always looking out for me. You know, he just loves me. I remember one morning I just woke up. I didn't feel like getting out of bed, but by the time I got up, started brushing my teeth, I had the silliest grin on my face. You know how girls get all giggly and flirty around guys they like? I want everybody to feel that. Everyone who's feeling lonely to feel that. And it's not always easy, and it has a lot to do with what we do on our part. You know, are we engaging with God to build that relationship, or are we neglecting him? Yeah. If you enjoyed that video, please like the video, comment, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram. I'm sorry if my energy was low in this video. I pulled an all-nighter trying to do my hair and I'm exhausted. Thank you for watching this video. Please come back, please spin back, come see me again, and look at my previous videos because they're good too. Bye!